just learned something that I feel like as a grown-up I really should have known before, but we're all learning and evolving throughout our whole lives, and actually it's a good thing that I learned a new thing, because otherwise I would have ceased to evolve a long time ago. I do feel like I should have known this fact before, but basically what I learned is that apparently when they show you places on maps, that is not sizably correct. It's just so they all fit on the map in relation to each other. It's not correct. Like, this thing might actually be bigger, but it just looks like this size in relation to Ireland, but it might be bigger. Am I making sense? If I'm not, it's okay. You don't know this thing either, apparently. So we're learning and growing together. Anyway, something I've been repeatedly shocked by when I travel to America is just how vast America is. And I can't overestimate how big it is. Overestimate. I'm underestimating how big it is, but I can't overstate how big the states are. So today we're going to check out more of that. Before we get into today's video, I would humbly request that you like, share, subscribe, comment, all of those above algorithmic things that are handy for me and my channel. Otherwise, an Irish curse will befall you. And that curse will be that the next time you go to use a lighter, you won't be able to get it to light. That'll be inconvenient. So subscribe. I feel like as big as America is, Americans don't realize how small Ireland is. Like, we've had a big impact on the world for such a small country. Okay, how big is the USA actually?
Currently the world's sole superpower with military installations around the world. As a country, its geography spans from subtropical forests to rolling plains, scorching deserts, and Arctic wastes. But just how big is the US really in comparison to the rest of the world?
Okay, I actually didn't know it was the sole superpower. So, learned a new thing.
The US is approximately 5,680,000 square miles, with terrain that varies dramatically. Only Russia at 10.6 million square miles and Canada at 6,205,000 square miles are larger than the US.
Oh my gosh, I actually had no idea that Russia was larger than the US. What? I'm also surprised Canada is larger than the US. I feel like I knew that somewhere in my things that I know back of my brain thing, but also on the map, Canada looks smaller, doesn't it? So that relates back to the thing I said at the start.
Its three biggest states, Alaska at 663,000 square miles, Texas at 270,000 square miles, and California at 160,000 square miles, combined would be the 17th largest nation in the world, immediately after Sudan at 1.15 million square miles, and right before Libya at 1 million square miles. In total, the US is larger than the 107 smallest countries in the world combined. With about 327 million people, the United States is also the third most populated nation on Earth, having a total of 4.28% of the total world population.
Okay, I don't know how that's never come up before, that your population is 327 million. In Ireland, I think the population is 7 million. It might be a little bit more because people got really bored in lockdown, but that's insane! Oh my god.
With a net yearly migration rate of approximately 900,000 people, the US is by far the one place the rest of the world wants to live, with Germany coming in second at 350,000 migrants, and Turkey in third with 325,000 migrants. In the US, 83% of the population lives in cities, with its three most populated cities being New York City with 8.5 million people, Los Angeles with 4 million people, and Chicago with 2.7 million people. All combined, the
I thought more would live
population
in the
of the US's
country.
three biggest cities is equal to the population of Chad with 14.5 million people. Just these three cities alone are also more populated than Cuba with 11.5 million people, Belgium with 11.3 million people, and Greece with 11.2 million people.
Ireland isn't even worthy of comparison.
New York City is the 10th largest city in the world, with a total population of 18.6 million people, just behind Cairo with 18.8 million people, and just ahead of Dhaka with 17.6 million people. This would make the greater New York City area the 63rd largest country in the world, just ahead of Syria with 18 million people. The U.S. is the
even
world's
contemplate those
largest
numbers.
economy with a gross domestic product of $20.4 trillion, or 23.3% of the total global economy. China
What?
is just behind the U.S. at $14 trillion and 16.1% of the total global economy.
Just
when
behind.
measured by
I think
purchasing
that
power
might be an
parity,
overstatement.
or the price of goods and services versus individual incomes, the U.S. comes at number 2 to China, whose GDP PPP is $25.2 trillion. This means that while the Chinese economy is about 30% smaller than the US's, Chinese individuals have on average 20% greater purchasing power in their own country. The three biggest
Interesting.
economies within the U.S. states are California with a GDP of $2.6 trillion, Texas with a GDP of $1.6 trillion, and New York with a GDP of $1.5 trillion. Altogether,
Oh my
these
God.
3 states would be the world's 3rd largest economy, just ahead of Japan with a GDP of $5 trillion.
That's a lot of money.
California's economy alone is as big as the United Kingdom's, Texas's is as big as Canada's, and New York's is as big as South Korea's. The United States also has the best equipped military in the world, though it's
We
only
covered
the
that in
3rd
another
largest
video.
at 1,282,000 active duty
Oh.
personnel. Ahead of it are India with 1.4 million active duty personnel and China with 2.1 million active duty
I had
personnel.
no idea.
The U.S. spends over $610 billion on its military every year, or 3.1% of its total GDP. 35% of the world's total military expenditure, and more than the next 9 nations combined. Just behind it are
Wow.
China with $150 billion in expenditures and Saudi Arabia with $76 billion in expenditures.
Jesus
The
Christ.
United States also has the most military bases in the most foreign countries in the world,
Yeah.
with approximately
You have a lot of
800
military
military
bases.
installations in 80 countries, possibly more military bases in more foreign lands than any nation or empire in history. The cost of maintaining these bases alone is about $156 billion, more than China spends on its entire military. On the civilian side, the U.S. has the world's 3rd largest police force, with 913,000 total police officers, placing it just behind India at number 1 with 1.9 million police officers,
Oh,
and
India's
China with
number 1.
1.6 million police officers. In the realm of healthcare, the U.S. is the most expensive nation on earth, with a health expenditure per capita of $10,350, placing it ahead of Switzerland at $7,900 and Germany at $5,550. While on average the rest of the world spends about 10.3% of its GDP on healthcare, the U.S. spends 18% of its GDP.
Healthcare in America is so
States is a
expensive.
large, complex nation, big enough to host several different distinct accents within its own borders. Its people
Yeah.
are hardworking and industrious, leading the world's economy. But despite what recent political events might indicate, they're also the most welcoming nation in the world, with 3 times the number of immigrants than
Yes.
nations in either the number 2 or number 3 spot in a global comparison.
Wow, okay. I mean, again, I definitely underestimated how big it is.
That is what she said.
Those are numbers that I, as a human, can't comprehend. Like, I feel like once I get past 100 subscribers on this channel, after that, I couldn't comprehend. When they started talking about trillions, I can't, like, billions is, it's like a million, right?
Don't ask me, I can't count either.
I can't count that high. I'm not even joking. I can't. Yeah, so to sum up, America is very big. Ireland is very squidgy. And yeah. Today I do want to shout out a special person. That's Eric, aka Stories Telling Stories. Right now he's going through one of the hardest times a human being ever has to go through, and he's continuing to put out content on his channel, the Stories Telling Stories channel. I'll leave the link for it below in the description box. I'd really appreciate if you would go check it out. He's a really great member of this community, and it'd be lovely to show him some love. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Bye. Before I get into today's video, I would endear you. Endorse you, I would ask you. Bequeath you. I would request you.